Victory.
Get over here!
Superb.
Greetings, Saberites, Anonymous here. So this is a topic that keeps coming up. It's just not going to die, I doubt. So, we'll probably keep coming back to it. The reverse grip. The other videos that we have on it, we get lots of comments on, lots of people asking to see the Ashoka way of doing it. You have two sabers, using it in jog high, all of this. And a lot of people come up with the same ideas for its use, it being quicker in the slash, and all of that kind of thing. And we keep saying that there may be some very, very small speed advantage or whatever, but doing the reverse grip, the ice pick grip like this, with a sword or a saber, especially a lightsaber, is really not your best option. Like we said, also, there are people that can make it work, maybe. You know, if you can make it work, that's great. Post some video of you doing some of the maneuvers in free play and getting off good shots, then hey, bully for you. But just like some people can fight with extreme handicaps, if you don't have to, you probably shouldn't. Now, one of the things that we always talk about is the hand mechanics in relating to the grip and specifically to the reverse grip. So, if we look at the way we hold this weapon here, right, and I'm holding it here like this, okay, the thumb and the forefinger have a nice ring and are holding it nice and secure. My thumb can easily oppose this finger and press in and create a lot of good tension there. Now as I do that, my other two fingers start to get involved here, and once my whole hand is, then I have it very nicely braced. Okay? There's a lot of force coming here through the palm of the hand that is stabilizing this part. This part up here has support around its entire area, so it can go in any direction here like this and still be very stable. Its main weak point is right here, but that's a very difficult one to actually exploit. We have done it in disarms, but kind of that way. So we can also move our wrist freely, right? And as it turns out, we can move the blade very deftly, right? So I can keep the tip still, right, and move it back and forth, right? I can keep a point in the middle still, right? And I can keep the hilt still, or a point right in front of the hilt to do the strikes. Now, let's turn it around. So, if we have it holding it like this, number one, I forgot to mention this. When we're holding it here like this, the force is coming in and we're receiving it essentially at the top of the hand. Okay? So we move it down here like this and we start changing that dynamic. Now we're receiving force down here at the bottom of the hand, where the pinky is, the ring finger, and all of that. Now, there's no thumb here, so there's nothing opposing, okay? Which means that this gap, which is the same one up here, down here, is the same vulnerability, okay? So we can easily slip it out that way. Now, over here, we can do the same thing, but when we're holding it like this, since the blade is up here, like I said, this is a very difficult one to exploit. Turning it around, it's actually reasonably easy to exploit this because all we have to do is directly put pressure on the blade that way. Okay. So that's the number one vulnerability to it. We're not going to have the strength in this range of motion here like that. Now, if we're holding it like this and we take the other hand and we're taking advantage of something like that, now we may be talking about an added bonus in leverage. But we are talking about a lightsaber. We shouldn't need that much leverage. We know that they operate and they have weight and all of that now in canon, but still, they do tend to cut way easier than steel blades. So, number one vulnerability is the hand, okay? Where you're going to be hitting most of the force is going right through that weak point. So, number one vulnerability. Next, reach. This is a big one because it's kind of an illusion. Now, if I just swing out, that is the range in which. So I'm somewhere out right there. Now let's turn it around here, and again, I'm going to reach out. Now, I can get out there. Okay, so if I'm here like this, I'm there, and if I'm here like this, I'm close. Okay. The problem is that in order for me to get there, I almost have to entirely let go of my saber. Okay. So, also, if I'm just going here like this, when I reach the furthest point out there, I'm immediately starting to bring it back, and I can do it here. Okay. So I'll reach out there. So this is where I'm at the furthest point. When I'm here, actually at my target, this is actually where I'm at. So there's where I'm actually hitting my target. Okay. Now, if I had regular grip, I can actually straighten my entire arm and move it there. Okay. So yeah, I can lean here and I can do stuff that will give me that reach. Right. I can do that. I can do that same stuff with a standard grip, and still be able to then cover my openings and launch good counterattacks. And that brings us to the third one, and that is this just isn't very good at attacking. Number one, we have the tendency not to extend out like this to get the range that we need in the place that we need in the swing, right? Whereas here, there. If I have it out here like this, there's very little I can do. I can maneuver here, okay? And this comes again from that fact that we have there. I can try to move it on the tip on there, but it takes a lot more effort, and I don't know that this is necessarily going to do what I want it to do in these positions, right? I don't know if I want to parry a strike coming down like this, because it is almost certainly going to come through, again, because of that weak point. So it's not very good at defending, it's not very good at attacking, right? Because as we swing here, we're going to have the tendency to bend our arm, right? So that we can really get a good, quick slash through it and to get that. But as you see, that means we almost lose all of our range. Now, we could specifically try to do this, but when I'm here like this, now my head is open, right? And if I swing back, the only real parry I have is kind of coming up like this, right? Here, like that. That's not, I don't know. I'm not sure that that's going to be a very high percentage technique, right? Now, we can, of course, orbit with it in that fashion. So we can do that. But again, as I said, notice that it doesn't cross my center line and my body in a very good place. There's a big triangle that's open right at my belly, right there. If I'm coming up like this, if this shot is parried and another shot immediately comes in to the other side, all I have is this, right? I can't flip it around. If they walk around me and get to my back, the only thing I have is going here, and I can't go that far, right? Here, I can get perhaps behind my back to get away from something, right? With this, there's no way I'm getting behind my back, right? Sure, I could do this, but that's, as you come around right here, you gotta watch it. You're not gonna cut your own head off, all right? So, there's that aspect of it. Now, another reason why it's not good at defending or attacking is, for a very simple reason, is that now in my natural hand position like this, I no longer have any hand protection, right? Now, we don't have a guard, but a guard, you know, you can get around not having a guard. You can use your blade to protect your hand. When you are like this, you are completely vulnerable, right? I could be standing here like this, right? And somebody else can just come in and hit it as I come up, right? And before my blade will even cross their path, they'll easily be able to hit my hand, right? So as it comes around here, it telegraphs a lot, right? Because it's trailing behind the movement, right? We often talk about how we want to thrust first and then step, or we want that thrust to come out first so that it arrives at the same time we do, all right? So here, okay, we don't want this, okay, because people will see our body move and then know that's coming. Same thing here, right? This telegraphs a lot, right? I have to coming up really quick, right? As opposed to, right? So the quick movements that we can do are now not really available to us, okay? If I want to get a good cut out of this, and I've expended my energy this way, right? So I've come up here like this, I either have to slow it down and then come back the other way, so put the brakes on and come back, right? Or I have to turn it all the way around, right? So during this entire motion, this blade is a beacon, right? There. Okay? Now, when I'm doing the orbits here like this, I can keep my blade crossing my center line and going to where I need it, right? And then I can go strikes, right? I can't do that very, very well here, okay? Now, like I said, this does exist in historical martial arts, we all know that. With daggers, because they're shorter and they don't produce as much leverage onto your hand, they can be used much better that way. Plus, in historical martial arts, as is the case, I think people have constantly said, the reverse grip here is to give us added bonus in the thrust, right? So that we can break through stuff. Either if I half sword and come in that way, right? Or just coming up here like this and being able to come down through the collarbone or something in that nature. So that doesn't really matter to us. First of all, when we're doing free play, we don't use the thrust that often because these don't bend and it's not really that safe. We do some thrust, but nothing where we're going to be using a reverse grip stab down. And even then, you would only do something like that with a real sword if you were in the bind anyway. You would not start over here. And yes, there are the systems where it comes from a draw, right? Because you're drawing something like that. But as we always say, as soon as you draw it out, right, and you get that room, you're back into good old standard grip. This is the way our hand works. Okay? Here, what we need is we need to be able to go straight in, but we also need to be able to cut and to move it side to side. We need to be able to parry, right? We need to be able to deflect. All of that we need to be able to do. When we go into reverse grip, we take away so much of that stuff. We don't. We can pretty much just cut in this manner, like that. We can stab here, there. All of a sudden, all of the movements become very awkward. Okay? It's cool to do in choreography and by yourself, but remember, when it's done in choreography, you're there to make somebody look like they're so good they can hold their weapon backwards and still beat the other person. Kind of like, you know, somebody tying their arm behind their back to show how good they are. That does not mean that that's an actual martial arts technique that should be trained, right? It's just a dramatic demonstration of somebody's superiority over somebody else, right? And an easy way to do it inside of a space of a few minutes, right? You don't have a lot of time to introduce and really establish that kind of stuff. There you go, reverse grip. As we say often, very neat, very pretty, not all that useful. Use it in your choreography, but please use it very, very conservatively. Right? Don't constantly have people out with a reverse grip, because it's just going to kind of propagate this myth that this is a really desirable position to be in, which it is not. Again, we're always going to say you can make almost anything work in certain situations. All we're saying here is this is needlessly limiting you if you don't need to be there. If you're in a tight spot and you're coming through or whatever, fine. But in normal, everyday sparring and all that, just hold it like you should, right? Hold it as it is intended, because all of the techniques are based on this grip right here. All right. Okay, so thanks for tuning in. Please like, share, and subscribe. We will see you next time. Have a great day. Happy sabering.